You're told to become your best self, to climb, optimize, evolve. But tell me, what if the one you're trying to become never really existed? What if the best self is just a story? One that keeps you chasing a horizon that keeps moving.
Do you start every day with a subtle anxiety? The weight of unfinished potential? Every scroll through your feed is a reminder of someone more disciplined, more fulfilled, more ahead. And without realizing it, you begin to see yourself not as a person, but as a project. You measure your worth by your output, your mood by your milestones, your value by your velocity. You mistake exhaustion for progress and call burnout grind. But here's the paradox. The more we chase our best selves, the further we drift from our real selves. Because buried underneath every "I can do better" is a quiet whisper, "I'm not enough yet." Chapter 1. The cult of progress. Somewhere along the way, self-improvement became a religion. The morning routines, the optimization checklists, the endless mantras about growth, resilience, and grind. You're told to manifest more, achieve more, be more. But no one tells you when it's finally enough. Progress became the altar, and we became the worshippers, offering time, energy, and peace of mind to a God that never answers, only demands. You can feel it everywhere, in the pressure to maximize your potential, in the guilt of taking a break, in the fear that slowing down means falling behind. But here's the question we never ask. Who decides what better even means? Because if the pursuit of progress strips away your joy, your rest, your ability to simply exist, then maybe what we're calling growth is actually just self-rejection disguised as ambition. The cult of progress doesn't build you, it drains you. It teaches you to measure your worth in metrics, to confuse motion with meaning, and to fear stillness as failure. But stillness isn't failure. Sometimes it's healing. Sometimes it's the first honest breath you've taken in years. Chapter 2. The Mirage of Perfection. Perfection has never been more visible or more fake. Scroll long enough, and you'll see 1,000 versions of it. Flawless routines, sculpted bodies, smiling faces frozen mid-success. Every image whispers the same lie. They've figured it out. And maybe you start to believe it. You start editing your own life, trimming the rough edges, curating the chaos, posting the highlight reel. Not because you want to lie, but because everyone else seems to be doing better. But here's the dark truth. Perfection is a mirage built on performance. It looks close enough to touch, but the closer you get, the further it moves away. Behind every perfect morning routine is someone fighting fatigue. Behind every dream life vlog is someone who edited out their emptiness. And behind every best self is a person quietly terrified of slowing down. Because if they stop, the illusion might crack. We don't chase perfection because we want to be flawless. We chase it because we're afraid of being ordinary. Afraid that without polish, without progress, we'll fade into invisibility. But perfection demands a price: authenticity. You trade your real moments for filtered ones. You trade truth for applause. And slowly, your life stops being lived. It's just presented. The mirage keeps shining, but your soul grows dimmer. And one day, you realize you've become a brand, not a being. Chapter 3. The Psychological Trap. The brain loves progress, but it doesn't love peace. Every achievement triggers a brief spark of dopamine, a rush that fades as fast as it comes. So you chase another hit, another milestone, another version of better. But the truth is, the chase never ends. You can double your income, sculpt your body, meditate at sunrise every day, and still feel like something's missing. Because progress doesn't fill the void, it feeds it. It keeps you reaching, climbing, upgrading, without ever letting you arrive. Like a treadmill disguised as a staircase, you're moving, sweating, pushing, but never truly rising. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. You adapt to every victory until it means nothing, and when meaning disappears, the mind creates new goals, not to grow, but to survive the silence. The modern world rewards this cycle. Apps track your steps, your sleep, your screen time, even your mindfulness. You're optimizing your peace instead of feeling it. Every moment becomes data, every experience a performance. And the cruelest part? The more you fixate on progress, the more you lose the present. The sunrise becomes a backdrop for content. The quiet becomes unbearable. Stillness starts to feel like failure. You've mistaken progress for purpose. But progress without purpose is just motion, and motion without meaning is just escape. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do isn't to improve. It's to stop running, to let yourself arrive, and realize you were already enough.
Perfection could make you whole. Why does every version of it feel hollow?
Chapter 4. The Death of Contentment. Contentment used to be a virtue. Now it's seen as complacency. We're told that being satisfied means we've stopped growing, that happiness without progress is somehow wrong. But when did enough become a failure? We've been conditioned to see stillness as stagnation and peace as laziness. So we keep moving, always toward a future version of ourselves that's thinner, richer, calmer, more productive. A self that's never here, always later. But the more you chase that version, the more you abandon the one who's already living your life. The one breathing in this very moment. The one quietly asking to rest. Gratitude fades under the weight of comparison. You look around, and someone always has more. More discipline, more followers, more glow, and suddenly your small joys feel meaningless. You stop noticing how the light hits the window, how someone remembered your name, how laughter filled the room for no reason at all. That's the quiet tragedy of the modern mind. We've lost the ability to just be okay. Because okay doesn't sell. Okay doesn't go viral. Okay isn't enough. But maybe contentment was never the absence of ambition. Maybe it's the presence of perspective. The wisdom to say, I have what I need right now, and I'm allowed to enjoy it. Because the moment you stop chasing, you start living. And that's when life finally feels like yours again. Chapter 5. The Truth About Growth. We talk about growth like it's a race, a climb, a conquest, always forward, always upward. But real growth doesn't always look like expansion. Sometimes it looks like surrender. The truth is, growth isn't constant. It's cyclical, like seasons, like breath. You expand, then rest. You build, then release. You bloom, then shed. And every time you force yourself to stay in summer, you rob yourself of the renewal that only winter can bring. But we've forgotten how to rest without guilt. We mistake pause for failure. We confuse silence with stagnation. We think healing means doing more, when sometimes it just means being still. True growth isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to improve. Before you believed your worth depended on productivity. Before you confused self-love with self-optimization. Growth isn't found in perfection. It's found in humility, in admitting you don't have to fix everything to be worthy of peace. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to strive, it's to stay. To stop chasing transformation long enough to realize you're already transforming simply by living through this moment. Because maybe the best version of you isn't waiting in the future. Maybe it's the one who finally stops running and decides to come home. Final considerations. Becoming whole, not better. Maybe the goal was never to be better. Maybe it was to be whole. Because wholeness doesn't demand that you perfect yourself. It asks that you accept yourself. Not in some distant, idealized future, but here, in the quiet imperfection of now. You are not a product in progress. You are a story unfolding, and every scar, every failure, every lost moment of grace. They're all chapters of the same book. Without them, the story wouldn't make sense. We live in a world that celebrates becoming, but forgets being. We confuse enlightenment with enhancement, and peace with performance. But there's nothing missing from you that self-improvement can fill. Because peace isn't earned, it's remembered. Wholeness means knowing that you don't have to chase meaning. You create it moment by moment, by being fully present in your own skin. By letting go of the myth that one day you'll finally arrive, and realizing that you already have. Maybe the best self isn't a destination at all. Maybe it's the version of you who stops apologizing for being human. The one who looks at their reflection and says, "I'm allowed to be enough." Because you don't have to become your best self. You just have to stop running from the one that's already here.
You were never meant to become perfect. Only to remember yourself. Completely. Perhaps the best self isn't waiting ahead of you, but buried beneath everything you try to outgrow.